Okay, hello. This is Corey Ritter and Mr. Doug Blake from Body Design University. We are here. It is Wednesday, 2:00, personal trainer talk. We are excited because you guys continue to flow in with these questions from all over the place. I think we even have, we've got a couple of people we need to admit into the session. Some folks that are going to be joining us live. But here it is, Wednesday, 2:00, where we take some time out to answer your questions when it comes to business and the science of personal training. For those of you that are just getting started and maybe studying for your exam, and those are out there to become a personal trainer, and those out there that are making it happen, training clients every day. We've got some good things to talk about today. We've got some great questions. I'm looking at some of this having to do with nutrition and marketing and training, split routines, all kinds of good stuff. And I think we've got a couple more that, again, might be joining us. But so, Mr. Blake, what's going on? Chief, here in Atlanta, Georgia, we are finally starting to enjoy the fall weather. And
yeah, I noticed that.
The last few days, it's been really chilly in the morning, but it's warming up. So it's right in that transitional period. But what do you think about that live course?
Man, that was an awesome course. I was just in touch with a couple of the students from it just today, as a matter of fact, seeing how they make sure they got home okay. And everyone was just excited. So much material.
That's awesome. What an awesome group of trainers. From all over the country. I mean, we actually had somebody come in from Canada. Angelica, she was really, really nice from Canada, Calgary. And we had somebody else come in from Kiro from Egypt. Joined us. And then Jesus, if you're out there watching from California, man, now I'm going to feel bad if I don't mention everyone.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm going to just stop right there. But we had folks from all over the place. It was really cool. Great group. Very good questions. That's what I took away from this group that came in. They were asking a lot of the right questions, especially when it comes to the business side of it and really understanding the operations. When I did my part of the training, I really, we were getting some really good questions that were directly to where the rubber meets the road. What was your biggest takeaway, Doug?
What was really neat is that occasionally we get these classes where there's a wide range of experience in the industry. And that's what this class was. This class had, we had a couple of folks who literally running their own businesses already and looking to really just dial in, really dialing in for their operating existing businesses. And then of course there's folks like we normally get that don't necessarily have their feet wet in the water yet, but they received all the information they need to start a business or to start working anywhere really in the industry. So yeah, that's what
I mean, some of the reasons why, and Doug, I'm sure it's very similar for you, but for me, some of the reasons why, I continue to enjoy these live courses and training personal trainers and helping personal trainers is that moment when you're teaching and a light bulb goes off for them that they really understand what you've just shared, but more importantly, that it's actually going to make a difference for them. Tamika stands out to me in this course, and there were several that did this, but for sure. I was talking about the scheduling, and a lot of trainers don't understand that if you don't get your scheduling under control and managed properly and really efficient, it could just take down your business. It'll take down your livelihood. It'll take down your life as a personal trainer. If you have a ineffective schedule and you're all over the place, and if you have training clients that are training, let's say, for example, 3 days a week on all different days, or, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening, that's just madness. For those of you out there doing that, we feel for you. But we teach on how to set up a very efficient scheduling process. And remember, for trainers, all we're doing is trading dollars for time. We're trading money for our expertise and accountability, motivation, training, all this stuff. If you don't get that right, man, it's a hot mess. And I know, because when I first started, it was like that until I figured it out. But I was sharing that with Tamika in the live course as we were going through it, and obviously the entire class. But Tamika just said, "Stop, hold on. Can you explain that one more time?" And I went over it, and she's like, "Oh my gosh." She just said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And that moment, tells me she's going to go back home and she's going to put some terms and conditions in place, some protocols in place, that it's going to make her life a lot easier. And quite frankly, the clients appreciate it. They actually don't want to be all over the place either. They'd rather have a very set system. Now, they like flexibility, but only to an extent. And it's times like that get me excited about the next course coming in, about the next group of trainers that we're going to be able to share. So
yeah, I'm with you. And you mentioned Tamika. Pretty much on every day that we hit something, that you and I have been doing this for a fair amount of time, and just by design, we've developed efficiencies from the business perspective and all the way through the nutrition and the lifestyle behavior changing modification components. And literally every day, I do remember Tamika just really appreciating some of these efficiencies that we've developed, and now we actually teach trainers. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. And you know what? There's one thing about learning something new and being excited about it, and that's one thing. But when you learn something new that you could actually apply pretty quickly, and it could actually make a difference pretty quickly, those are the meat and the potatoes. So, okay, let's. Are you ready to get the show on the road or what?
I'm ready, man.
We've got a bunch of questions, so let's try and make through as many. Guys, thank you so much again for sending in these questions. And Johnny Gonzalez out there, our co-host, you out there, Johnny?
I am, guys. How are you doing?
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much for being with us again today and helping us as always. I've got this list of questions from all over the place, and we're going to kind of dive through each one of them. And Johnny, if you would, just like we have, just send them our way. We'll kind of bring you up to speed, and we'll bounce back and forth. Does that sound good?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay, cool. So there is, I just want to share something real quick in regards to the industry. Like, I'm over right now at our personal training studio here in Atlanta firsthand. And man, I'm telling you, I am seeing people like, I don't know what it was right after COVID, because I really wasn't over there much, but I am seeing people so excited about hiring personal trainers right now. So excited about getting fit, so excited about getting active and getting inside of a gym again and working out. And I just wanted to put that out there for those that are like, oh, how are people feeling about it? Or what's the industry like? Or what are people? I'm telling you, I've got my boots on the ground right now, and I've never seen people, actually, I just really haven't, so inspired or excited to get moving. I don't know if it's because they were so, inactive for such a long period of time, but like, yeah, I know it's been a while since we've kind of reopened back up, but I'm just seeing a lot of people just getting really active, and our enrollment is up over at the club more than it's ever been right now in the last 30 days. And I expect that it's just going to continue to grow for personal trainers out there on the fence or thinking about, what is it like? And I'll tell you, it's pretty good right now. It really is. And again, I don't know if it's, and I know that's not the same across the country. So some of those in the hot pockets where the regulation is really high, I know you're still dealing with some challenges, and we feel for you on that. We really do. When we closed, that was a hard thing. But for those that are not, and the businesses are open and they're not requiring crazy restrictions, people want to exercise. They want to move their body. They want to feel good again, and pretty awesome. So anyhow, with that being said, let's get started with the first question that we have sent in here from Jesse Diego from California. Is asking, in a pyramid set, is it best to start with higher weight with low reps or lower weight with high reps? Ooh, I like that question, man. Yeah.
You feel like you want to answer that first too, don't you? You just want to jump in there, don't you?
Well, I'll give my 2 cents. I mean, you're going to be much better at breaking this down, but it's funny. I'm a little unorthodox in my training. I am, but I will tell you this is that I do a little bit of everything and anything. I just really do. I just be honest with you. I'll go high weight and rep it down. I'll go low weight and rep it, and change it up. So sometimes I'll start heavy and then throughout the sets, I'll go light. Sometimes I'll start light and go heavy. And if for no other reason, I'm just trying to freak their body out, make it so it can't figure out what the heck's going on right now. It doesn't make any sense. Well, last week you did heavy to light. The week before you went heavy to light. I just totally just try to confuse the heck out of the clients, to get the results.
I'm totally confused now. So Jesse, here's the standard protocol. There's the personal training world where we have to redefine this concept of heavy. And then there's the concept of pyramiding that comes from the athletic training world, where you would always start lighter by necessity, because you don't want to start with a heavy weight without having warmed up into it. And so that side of it it's a pyramid, which means it's got a wide base and it comes up to the top. Normally in athletic training endeavors, you would start light, hit a number of repetitions, and then start increasing the weights up until you get to your working sets, which could be 1, 2, or 3. Again, protocols are all different. And then you could come back down, decrease the weights, and just depends on what your volume is going to be. So that's that.
Now you really confused them.
That's a very strict world. But what Corey was saying is what we normally do in personal training, which is we're not doing 400-pound bench presses. So when we say people can start out heavier and drop the weights down, we're talking about standard drop sets. Remember, when you use the term pyramid, there is the assumption that you're going up in something and then coming back down. So that could be, normally it's weight. So a drop set, you'd be starting heavy, boom, and then dropping down. That's a drop set. So we have to be careful that we're using the proper terminology. If you're saying pyramid, then in general, the concept of a pyramid means I'm going to incrementally increase my weights, drop my repetitions, whatever those are. Then I'm going to continue back the other way, which means I'm going to go up in weight and then come back down in weight. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, because the volume may be a little bit too high for that particular exercise, whatever the case is. But that's normally what a pyramid means. You could pyramid, yes, your repetitions. You can start with low repetitions, heavier weight, and then pyramid up so that you're doing higher and higher reps. You decrease in weight, and then you would do the same thing back down. I will say I've never normally use that, but you absolutely can. Just be very careful. If you do a heavy to low, you've got to be sufficiently warmed up. Okay, so if you're going to start your pyramid with heavy weight, you've got to be sufficiently warmed up, which means you probably already pyramided up to that heavy starting weight. I hope that doesn't confuse you, because remember, we don't want to hurt people. So if you're going to start, quote, heavy, you still have to warm up to that heavy weight. Then you can decrease your weight, increase your reps. Standard pyramid, lower weights, increasing weight, lower repetitions, and then you back it down to make that actual pyramid shape.
Yeah, Doug, this could be confusing for a lot of people, because if you think of it this way, one, let me make sure specific as far as the warm up. Doug is also referring to what we like to call as a site specific warm up. So for example, if you're going to start off heavy with a chest press and then drop the weight down, you definitely would want to do a, if you're doing chest press, you'd want to do a light, just at least one set, a light set chest press. Not just like a warm up on the treadmill or elliptical. We're talking about literally weight training type of warm up set. But the other thing is that, like, I've heard, Doug, I'm hearing trainers all over the place call things completely different than
Yeah.
all over the place. So for example, like a pyramid set, like it could be where somebody is, let's just say for us, we might think of a pyramid set where it's a drop set. So we just have one weight that we're lifting, and then we do a drop set to a lighter. And in some cases, a pyramid could be like, let's just say I'm doing, just for number's sake to keep it easy, 100 pounds 10 times. And then I'm doing, maybe like 80 pounds 8 times and 50 pounds 5 times in one set back to back without break. So like I have these dumbbells lined up, and normally we would also, we've called that a drop set. It doesn't matter if it's just one time that we're dropping the weight, but if we're starting at one weight and we're going down in the single set, we could do that. The other thing is that you hear people calling pyramid sets or maybe referring to them as this set is 100 pounds for 10 reps. And then there's a break and that's it. That set's over. And then there's another set completely different. And when we're talking about this, guys, is that we're talking about, a single set, which is by Mr. Blake's definition, continuous repetitions without pause. And we see this all the time. Like Doug, I remember one of the first trainings you and I did, and this is back in 2002, and you were talking about, what is a set and a continuous repetitions. And, I've learned so much from you over these years that I still think about in my training. And basically I watch these clients that take a break for like 10 seconds at the top of a bicep curl or like, 5 seconds at the bottom of a bicep curl or whatever the case, or even a squat. I'm like, you just started a new set. What the heck is going on around here?
Right.
So anyhow,
I remember how I used to explain it is you think you're doing one set of 10 reps, but in actuality, you're doing 10 sets of one rep with a 2-second pause in between each set. Yeah. And so it has a profound effect on how the muscle adapts. And that's why that concept of no rest or loss of tension is so critical when we talk about it. But you're correct. We do have to make sure when we talk about a pyramid, we're talking about a set with a certain amount of weight, and then you take a rest, and then another set with an increased amount of weight.
That's right.
Rest. Whereas drop sets, of course, you can do drop sets and technically you're not supposed to rest.
No.
From drop it, boom, and then but of course we know there's always going to be a little bit of a break from one.
But only from getting from dumbbell to the next dumbbell.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to point this out. And I didn't really want to make it an issue, especially public like this. But, when we're training, Doug, when you were training last week, and when I say we, meaning when I'm training you last week, okay, and you were taking these little breaks, during some of the sets. I was gonna say, I was gonna say, Mr. Blake, how many sets are you wanting to do tonight? But I was like, let me not do that. I
don't remember that.
There was a couple pauses at the top on a couple of those, and I was just like, there's a new set, Mr. Blake. I'm gonna,
for sure, your judgment is right on point. I am not going to argue with you.
All right. So Jesse Diego, I hope from California. I hope that was helpful. That was fun. I like that question. I love different sets. I love drop sets and super sets and power, whatever you want to call them. What do they call them now? Giant sets, all different things. That I think really is important for every trainer to be doing. If you're not doing some form of unique set with your clients every workout, you're missing the boat. I mean, every workout. I'm talking about every single workout. There should be some form of either drop set, superset, combo, whatever you want to call it. At least in one of the exercises that you're going to do. So.
By the way, that's one of the things that's always the most fun is when we go over program design and we talk about the 25 minutes of resistance training that we specify for a particular workout. And as soon as we say 25 minutes, everyone goes, what, 25 minutes? That's just not enough time. And you and I kind of giggle and laugh, because how long have we been doing this where 25 minutes that's the allotted time for resistance training. None of this 1 hour, training your pecs and the inside head of your tricep on Monday, and then
well, look, some of these folks don't, they remember, they just love taking a couple hours on a day to get, and if that's the case, but you're not going to do that with your clients. And, that's funny. It's so true. Good. All right. Mr. Johnny Gonzalez, let's bounce over to you. Johnny, if you could, tell us what you have. I know you've got some questions that have come in from the group and from, I guess, the website all over the place. What do you have for us?
Yeah, guys, I definitely do. So the next one here is from Mike Rosenberg from over in Fairfax, Virginia. His question is, why shouldn't I give my regular non-athletic background clients, that is so specific, Mike, explosive athletic workouts? I want to give people the best results so my business grows.
That's a good question. Doug, I've got something for this too, but this is your wheelhouse. I'm going to let you tackle it first, and then I'll give you my feedback on this.
I guess the first question is, we have to define what we mean by explosive type workouts. If we're talking about plyometric training, there's any number of reasons why you would do it with average folks, and there's just as many good reasons why you wouldn't do it. And so I'm not sure if you wouldn't necessarily do it. I generally never did any type of plyometric training, because plyometrics by design has a specific speed and power element component to it that we normally reserve for individuals that are looking for some sort of athletic performance components or increases in athletic performance. So for the amount of time that I would have with a client, I would rather do what would be called tension maintenance type exercises, and just keep the volume and intensity consistent throughout sets. Remember, with explosive type movements like plyometrics, you're not keeping the muscle under consistent tension. It has a different purpose to it. So there's nothing wrong with it. There's also an injury component that is always going to be sort of at the back of your mind when you're training folks. So I hope that makes sense. It's not that you would not necessarily do it. You got to be really, really careful with any type of ballistic or plyometric type training, and just ask the question, why? I mean, if you have an athlete, then do plyometrics. I know folks, swimmers, track.
He's saying non-athletic clients with no
non-athletic
background.
I'm not sure there's any reason why I would ever do plyometric training, other than the trainer, am I the board, or trying to figure out a way to include a different type of training modality. But then there's plyometrics would not be one of them. Doesn't make well, here's
the thing. I think, and here's my thought on it is that, this is where things are, Doug is right on point with a true plyometric training, right? Like, people are defining things differently now, and the exercises, are we doing true plyometric trainings? I think a good example is like the other day, Doug, you were talking about in the live course students, how long can you sprint for? And somebody was like, for a minute. And you're like, no, that's not a sprint, and no one can sprint for, and the same thing goes, like, I'm guilty of it. I'm training clients and I say, okay, I want you to sprint down and back. Well, it takes them a minute, 30 seconds to get down and back. Is that truly a sprint? No, but in their mind, it is. So long story short, I say, first and foremost, the first thing that throws a flag is as long as you control the intensity for the client and you make the adjustments to their specific, what they're capable of, because the risk involved with the impact and the intensity is a big deal with the general population. But I think you can definitely do it. You're just going to modify it to where at that point, what Doug is saying, it's really not plyometrics any longer. But in your mind, you're taking something you apply to your athletic clients and you're just bringing it over. I think you should do that. I've been doing that for my entire career, but it's just just different. It's just, it's just totally different. The exercises, the intensity, and a lot of the plyometric exercises that I've done for so many years, I modify those to that then I would probably not do with an athlete because it's just not going to have the same effectiveness. So anyhow, I think that's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, we do exercises like bounding exercises, running upstairs, things like that may appear to be plyometric. That is
right.
That's not true plyometric training, but holy cow, do we do those with? Absolutely, we do those with clients. But remember, again,
Doug,
Doug,
I was training you like an athlete last week. I just want to let you know that I was training you like the athlete that you still are. Okay. And don't tell them that I had you on 2 BOSU balls. Okay. Don't be telling them about some of my secret sauce. Okay.
Look,
I had you like, doing some walking lunges. What was that 800 pounds on your back? I mean, this is just out of control.
All I know is I told my wife, I said, he gave it his best shot. He did. But I survived.
Just for saying that, I'm going to start playing. I'm going to start writing my exercise program now for November.
I will say that I don't think I've had anybody. I've been trained by a lot of people. I always had my trainers training me because I didn't want to think about training, but ain't nobody trained me like you trained me. So at the end of the day,
I appreciate that. You're still alive. So that's the main thing. So, Johnny,
I hope
thanks
that
for
answers it. Yeah. I hope that answers
yes.
his question. Yeah. We don't want to confuse, and maybe that's because I'm a dinosaur. We don't want to confuse, high intensity, really good. Don't get me wrong. There are some great exercises that kind of look like ballistic type of, you can do hop jumps. You can do a lot of different things, but they're technically not plyometric training. They're just high intensity and some ballistic type training, which is absolutely fine with non-athletic individuals.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of and look, everyone's got a different mindset. Okay. So don't take this to heart. Don't get upset if this is what you do. But I never called my clients athletes. Like I just, my clients that come in general population clients, I just never called them athletes, but I've heard trainers in the past, like all my athletes, and I think that's kind of cool. It's like making them feel like that. But at the end of the day, just do it. I think his name was Mike, do it. Just make the modifications and call it whatever you want. But just look, just don't hurt the folks. That's the main thing. I had a client I was speaking to earlier today, and I was just like, look, the main thing is that we're going to get these results, but the main thing is that we don't want to hurt you. And we just don't want to hurt you. We want to get the results, but we don't want to hurt you. So it's really important. But
last thing, just remember that at the end of the day, there's this concept called time under tension. And there's a reason why it's such an important concept. It's because muscles are going to adapt, respond to change metabolically based on not just the total level of tension or the load imposed upon it, but the length of time without rest that the muscle is under tension. So it's going to have an effect on the different energy systems and therefore the different muscle fiber types. That's why some of this stuff never goes out of style. I mean, this is basic muscle physiology. So the goal, and that's what you do so well when you're training people, Corey, is that you don't allow the muscles to rest. And that's what builds one of the most important elements of muscle endurance, muscle strength and endurance, which is that capacity to work for extended periods of time with literally no rest and bust through the ATP PC system, work hard on the glycolytic system, and then ultimately push the muscles to a higher level of productive output, effective tension development over longer periods of time. That's just what we're always trying to do with clients. So anytime I can do that, that's what I'm always looking for. So
yeah, I mean, I'm searching for those opportunities. A couple of people recently said that I lacked empathy. I don't know what they're talking about. It's just the fact that I enjoy, watching somebody struggle at the bottom of a set, or at the top.
It's when you laugh. That's where the concern is when you giggle. That's where I think people,
You know, here's the funny part about training too. And I thought about this because, you know, as we train and develop new trainers, there's some things that are very hard to teach. Judgment is one of them. Like judgment is a hard thing to teach, you know, and I think once they understand some of the facts, they can make better judgment calls once they understand some more of the science. But when somebody is saying they can't do it, boy, you better have good judgment. Are they saying that they don't want to do it? Are they saying, you know, are they saying that they're, you know, they're hurting? What are they saying? Being able to decipher that and then also use it to motivate them. But one of the reasons I've been able to push folks in my training for so long, just to the brink or just before the brink, is because I see the impact in 2 or 3 weeks. And I know that was so good for them. That struggle on that set was just so important for them. And then they come back stronger, more confidence, all that good stuff. And, but I will tell you in a full on confession, I need to take it easy because, you know, I'm laying the hammer down. I'm able to train some people right now. And I'm just so excited about it that
would have been helpful before you trained me on that last leg day.
All right. So Mike, I hope that answers your question. Johnny, thank you for that. Let's bounce over to, look, we got one from Georgia. We don't get many questions often from Georgia. Jared Brown from Duluth, Georgia.
Duluth. Okay.
Duluth. What are the benefits of a drop set and when would you include it in a set? That's funny. We just kind of touched on this a little bit. Let's see. Doug can explain the science. I have no idea. But this is what I will tell you is that I've been doing drop sets for a very long time. And I started with my own training. When I started incorporating drop sets into my own training years ago, when I was really into lifting and training, you know, heavy and hard and all that good stuff, I did drop sets and I felt the difference. And the next day I felt my muscles trying to recover, rebuild, and I got stronger. So then I said, well, of course, clients. So should a 70-year-old woman do drop sets? Absolutely. Should a 15-year-old do drop sets? Absolutely. Should an athlete do drop sets? Yes. Somebody 100 pounds overweight? Yes. I've been doing drop sets with professional athletes and clinically obese for 20 years. Drop sets are critical. The benefits are, if nothing else, it's stimulating because it's like, it's more exciting than say, you know, and then I get to change. I don't know. Doug, tell them to break down the science. Why are drop sets so effective? And when should they be used? Generally speaking, my feedback on that is generally towards the end of the muscle group, not the workout, but the muscle group that you're finishing. So for example, if you're doing chest, I would do a drop set at the end, the last exercise or the last couple of last sets. It could be in a sequence, but primarily at the end of the exercise. But Doug, why are they so effective?
It's pretty straightforward. It's the balance between intensity and volume that you're applying to the muscle at any one given period of time through a working set. And so all a drop set does is it simply allows for muscle to continue to contract, shorten, and lengthen under tension after the highest threshold muscle fibers have essentially fatigued. And now what you're able to do is by reducing the total load, you're allowing the lower threshold fibers. Normally you talk about type 2X, we'll say fast twitch and slow twitch, but because there's two types of fast twitch fibers, the general understanding is that if you're able to, with heavier weights, right, you're going to start a drop set, right? You're going to do curls for, I don't know, how many reps, 5 reps, 6 reps, it doesn't really matter. The understanding is that in order to accomplish that last couple of repetitions, you're using or you're utilizing to a high percentage what we call higher threshold muscle fibers. Those would be the type 2X, sometimes type 2A, depends on the person. Now, as those guys fatigue out, well, I really would like to do some more reps, and I'd really like to get even more muscle fibers active. I've got to maintain tension. I can't let the muscle rest because that ATP-PC system will regenerate too quick and I'll access pretty much the same muscle fibers. So what do? soon as I get to that top of the set, as fast as I can, I'm going to now reduce the load, and now lower threshold fibers that have not essentially fatigued, they're able to continue the work. My type 2X fire, just think about it. Those guys are wiped out. They're just sitting here like, holy cow, what did you just do? And then they hand it off and they go, well, you guys go ahead and finish. And those lower threshold fibers, like type 2A fibers, for instance, they'll go, okay, I got it from here, but it's lighter weight. And now you do as many as you can do, right? And then what do they have to do, right? The type 2A fibers have some aerobic endurance capacity. That's why they're type 2A fibers. They have some myoglobin, but they're going to fatigue out also. So what are they going to do? When they can't do any more work, they're basically going to the type 1 fibers or other type 2A fibers that are fatigued, and they go, here, you guys finish up. But you got to drop the weight. And now you can continue on with a couple of more reps, and the lowest threshold fibers, which are endurance fibers generally, yes, those guys can come into play. And the more drops I do, the more weight I'm going to drop. And ultimately, it's just very simple muscle physiology based on volume, tension, capability, based on the total load being applied. I mean, haven't you ever done this where you do the bench? Remember how we used to do this? You're at 4 plates.
Drop the plates.
They pull it off and it continue, and you got 3 plates, right?
And it's go, like the bar's going like this.
And you're like this, and then you drop the plates, and now you're down to 2, and you're like, right? 3. And then you drop the plate. Well, have you ever gone to the point where you just take them all off and you got a 45-pound bar and you look like this? Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. And then after you put the weight down, and then if you're really insane, what do? You get up and you go and you try to do push-ups. Now that's kind of the ultimate. Yeah. Think about that's a set think about the total time under tension. If you don't get sore from that. Yeah, dude, drop sets are even more so than supersets. Drop sets have always been I would say the meat and potato of getting more volume into a shorter period of time to totally work as many of the muscle fibers as is humanly possible in a given set. Now you can overdo it. Obviously you can overdo it. And what you said makes a whole lot of sense. If you're doing 3 exercises, dependent on your ability to recover, you can do drop sets all along the way, but normally you're going to do it on one of the last exercises on the last set. But did I get a little too dramatic on that? That was pretty intense. Let me just recap everything Doug just said in about 5 seconds, put it in layman's terms. Okay. Are you ready for everyone in the back? Remember what Doug said. It's not just about how much weight that you're lifting, but also the time under tension, how long that muscle is under tension. Very important. Drop sets help achieve that goal. So that's a great question. I think his name was Jared from Duluth. That's a great question. Definitely incorporate it. A lot of benefit. But don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Generally speaking, if I'm training, for example, chest, shoulders, and triceps, I'm not going to do drop set in all of the exercises. If I'm training, I'll train one drop set in one of the muscle groups. And then the next time around, I'll pick the other muscle group to do the drop set. Next time I'll pick the other muscle group. I don't like doing multiple drop sets. That can be overdoing it. In my mind, that's overdoing. Same thing goes for, back and biceps. I'll do a drop set for back. I'm not going to do it for biceps, vice versa. So anyhow, Jared, thanks for that question. I hope that helps. Let's bounce back over to Mr. Johnny Gonzalez. Johnny, what do you have for us?
All right, guys. This next one's from Reese Case over in Lexington, Kentucky. Go Cats. His question is, would a healthy alternative to pre-workout be 1 cup of coffee at least 30 minutes before a workout for my clients? Or should I request that they don't consume any pre-workout or caffeine before exercising to avoid any potential problems for my business?
Yeah. So thanks for that question, Reese from Kentucky. I would highly recommend that you do. All right, ready? Let me do this again. I would highly recommend that you do not recommend pre-workout, caffeine, anything to your clients. I would highly recommend that you do not recommend any of those things before a workout for a lot of different reasons. But the main reason is just the client safety. I mean, it really is. it's very few stories, but you know, some of them are pretty terrible, where people just on caffeine, not even, you know, not even back in the day, the Fedra stuff, just the caffeine and the pre-workouts. No, not at all. Matter of fact, I would highly recommend that you just do the opposite. Discourage them from taking in caffeine or pre-workouts before workouts. You know, sometimes you'll have clients now and they'll show up with a pre-workout. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, hold on. You're 30 pounds overweight. You ate 2 meals yesterday. I'm coaching you to make a bet. Pre-workout? No, absolutely not. Will we be taking a pre-workout? We're just gonna get you eating healthy. We're gonna get you exercising and get you sleeping properly, and we're not gonna mess with any of that stuff. Now, have I taken a pre-workout? Of course. Have I taken other stuff that helps with working out? Yes. But the bottom line is that I would never recommend that to a client. Never. You know, and there's risks involved. So it's our job, you know, at the end of the day, this is my belief. That's why you're tuning in for our feedback, is that to help them create a lifestyle. And taking a pre-workout just is not a lifestyle that I want to help a client create, thinking that they need to have that in order. And when that pre-workout stops having its effect, let's just have a little more pre-workout. When that stops working, let's just have a little bit of this. And then it's just like, so anyhow, that's my 2 cents. Doug, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. Remember, at the end of the day, there's very little difference between pre-workouts and caffeine, because for the most part, that is the pre-workout drug of choice in pre-workouts, aside from the 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 other different substances that pre-workout formulas have in them. The general understanding is that they're going to contain anywhere between 100 upwards of 300 milligrams of caffeine. Caffeine is a incredibly powerful, effective ergogenic aid. And because of that, it also has profound beneficial effects, and it has some very potential deleterious effects. It's outside your scope of practice as a trainer to recommend anything like that. So yeah,
we're not saying you can't experiment on yourself. I mean, like, hey, I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to have a little fun and look, why not?
We've used enough, you know, we've used enough ephedrine to give
Speed
a horse
stack?
a heart attack. So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why we know not to give it to your clients. I mean, we were competitive athletes. And even then it was, we were really running a very high risk. And even caffeine, we just don't know. You don't know enough about caffeine. First off, there's literally 100 studies coming out every day in different journals around the world that say different things about caffeine. And once you combine caffeine with other ergogenic substances, some that are really very effective, we don't know enough about how they interact with individual physiology to make an appropriate assessment. So
well, look, I'll tell you.
Yeah, why are they doing it anyway? It's because they're probably not eating well, they're not hydrated properly, and they're not getting enough sleep. So
they don't need a pre-workout. They don't need a pre-workout. They don't. The average client does not need it. I don't even care if you're training athletes, but I will say,
oh boy,
back in the early 2000s, boy, I was getting some incredible fat loss results with some of that ephedra before it was banned. I mean, they were probably not the best for the clients, but boy, we had them hitting some ephedra, you know,
3 times a day. 25 milligrams of ephedrine hydrochloride, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and an aspirin tablet. You remember that? Remember that one?
Well, they had the stacks. They were selling the stacks with the aspirin. Oh yeah. I mean, So anyhow, no, don't do any of that stuff. Okay. I hope that helps.
That was insane.
All right. Next one. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Phil Hardy from Monroe, Louisiana. Phil Hardy from Monroe, Louisiana is it safe or smart to have my clients stick to one type of meal for 1 to 2 weeks at a time? For instance, if I fix them up a meal of Gator meat, rice and beans.
Nice. Okay.
He did. He went there. He said,
Did he say Gator meat?
Gator meat, rice and beans.
Tastes like chicken.
Is
by the
that
way.
then okay to do? And then switch to pork, potatoes, and corn for the next 1 to 2 weeks? Or should I let them pick out their own healthy foods just to eat while training? This is a great question, Phil. I really appreciate folks coming in with some of these nutrition questions because it helps us clarify, so Phil, in most states, we do have to fall within our own scope of practice of what we recommend, certainly what type of food and how much. I would not even, for a lot of reasons. And honestly, because of this one, primarily, it's not a liability issue because you're not going to get somebody sick by telling them to eat generally, rice and beans or pork or something like that. It's more the inefficiency. You should not, from a business standpoint, it doesn't make good sense to dive in that deep. From a human behavior standpoint, you want the clients taking ownership and putting an effort in their decisions and following through. Coaching them on that is totally different. What we like to do and what we teach is to be able to provide a meal plan that provides options that falls within the scope of practice within most states. And then the client will select at breakfast time the option that they want to select. And what that does is it plays a little bit of a gray area where we are providing meal plans based on their specific caloric need, the ratio macronutrients that they should be consuming. However, the client is selecting which meal that they want. And so more or less they're creating it themselves. And we don't do anything other than that. And the client comes in, I don't like this food or I don't like this meal. Great, switch it, exchange it. You can exchange anything you want on that meal plan as long as you exchange it with something that has the same value. So, for example, I had clients over the years. Oh, I just don't, I don't eat chicken, or I like turkey. I don't like chicken, whatever the case is. Well, put it into MyFitnessPal, put it in one of these calorie counters, and just do an exchange. And you could do. And once they put in the work, then they're a little bit more vested. So I've done a little homework on this. I figured it out. Now I'm more vested to eat it, make sure it's done. And by the way, I don't even care if they're paying you $1,000 a month. They're not paying you for that level of, generally speaking, personal trainers we're not being compensated for that level of detail when it comes to the nutrition part, playing that role. The amount that we would have to charge for it to work from a business standpoint would be well beyond $1,000 a month. So unless you have your clients paying you that for nutrition coaching services like that, I would not even play with it. And we haven't had to. We've helped thousands of people now all over the place without having to dive that deep. We measure their body composition. We figure out what their caloric need is based on their activity level, the thermic effect of food, and their basal metabolic rate. Once we figure that out, we put together a meal plan, 3 options at each mealtime and snack time. They choose, boom, it's done. They want to make changes, they make changes. So I hope that's helpful. That's my recommendation there. Doug, again, he's asking, whether or not, we should recommend a set fixed, like 2 meals for a week. And then next week, give them a different 2 meals. And this is an example of why we created the meal plan that we did years ago that gives them that flexibility to make the changes themselves. But what feedback would you have outside of, maybe what I just shared?
Just send him the address so he can send us some Gator meat.
You would say something like that.
It's kind of my take on this.
I don't want any Gator meat. I don't like, I know I have to eat chicken and beef, but Gator.
The problem is down here in Florida, you only get one Gator per season. You only get 1 tag. I think in Louisiana, I forgot how many they get. So come on,
dude, he's got a serious question here, man.
Oh, yeah. Don't. No, you answered it. You answered it perfect. Look, if you had a bodybuilder, then they don't have a choice. You eat what I tell you to eat, and that's it. You get ready for a show. But for the average client, oh, no. I would never. Yeah, I just would never recommend a particular food to begin with. Here's your options of proteins, right? And then there they are. There's 6 or 7 different proteins. Just you pick what you want. Right? And then there's only about 30 or 40 different complex carbs that we could recommend. Pick whichever one you want. But I would never tell my clients, let them make that. If they want to eat chicken every day, that's their business. That's fine.
Yeah. And by the way, there's apps out there now like Eat This, Not That, I think it's called, or Eat This Much. It's called Eat This Much. They can plug in and it'll spit out foods based on the foods that they like. And just, don't dive into that. It's too messy. You actually answered your question at the end there, Phil, when you said, or should I, as you wrote in here, or should I have them pick on their own, have them pick on their own. All right. Hope that helps. Let's bounce back over to Johnny. Mr. Gonzalez, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so the next one is from Rachel Snow over in Salt Lake City, Utah. So this is a business question. Her question is, when starting up my business, should I name it something closer to the bigger brands such as Gold's Gym or 24-Hour Fitness, or should I give it something completely unique?
Yeah, so great question. I'm sorry, what was her name?
Rachel Snow.
Rachel, great question. I wish you were here. We would talk more about it if I could do it all over again. And I love the name of our company. I really do, Body Design. However, if I could do it all over again, I would do it differently. And here's why. There's probably 15,000 body design personal trainers around the world right now. 15,000 body design personal trainers calling themselves body design personal training. I and my company own the rights and the trademark. We own it to body design, like literally body design personal training, body design university. We own that, but that's only as good as your willingness to, infringe them for using it. And for us, it would cost us more money than we would ever have, or time or energy. And sometimes, litigation is just the ill will and the energy. It's not worth it. And all because we picked a name in 1999. I picked a name that I had no idea that was going to be so popular to so many personal trainers. And if I could do it all over again, I would choose something different. I literally just had somebody the other day coming in for an interview for a job. And he said, I was just calling to confirm if you're the body design here or body. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm the one body. So, you deal with stuff like that. But the bottom line is that I teach trainers now, and I have for a while. Do not pick something like elite personal training or, ultimate fitness trainer or, get fit now personal trainer. Don't do anything like that. I try to use the example of Starbucks. The word Starbucks, what does that have to do with coffee? Now somebody's going to come on and say, well, actually it does. No, what does it have to do? It doesn't, but it's no different than Kleenex. You understand Kleenex, when you think Kleenex, at least some of the folks out there, they think tissue. Okay. But Kleenex is not a tissue. It's not, it's a brand. Starbucks is not a cup of coffee. Starbucks is a brand, but because they tied it in so well, and because it's not, let's say elite coffee, like there's 1,000 elite coffees probably, or soft tissue. There's probably 1,000 companies. Don't do that. Pick something really unique. That's what I would recommend. So great question. And I'm sorry to all the trainers out there that are listening right now. It's like, but I'm Get Fit Personal Training. This is such a great name. I love my name. Well, good. Love it. All you want. Just know that if you do, make it big one day. And that's the goal. Hopefully, if it is. If it's not, don't worry about it. Use whatever name you want. But if you want to make it big and sometime maybe even have multiple locations, or even do it for whatever the case is, pick something very unique. I use a stupid example. Like I was looking at the ceiling fan and I said, well, fan fitness, just call it fan. What does that have to do with fit? It has nothing to do with fitness. That's the purpose, is like, if you could pick something that has nothing to do with fitness, that's what I would recommend. Because you would be the only personal trainer out there called FAN personal trainer. Like, why do you call it fan? I have no idea. I looked up and it was just all fan one day. So, okay. So Johnny, I hope that answers. Johnny, any follow up on that?
Yeah, I just think it's really important that, when choosing your name, it's honestly, it's the service behind, what you provide. As long as you're providing the A1 service that people want and need, and, I think that's the bigger thing.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's like Starbucks.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, people do want some kind of connection between the two. But in large, if you can create a brand that becomes so strong, when they think of it, they think of coffee. When you say that, they think of a tissue, but it's actually your company name, and it has nothing to do with a tissue. Could be really powerful, but simple, easy. If you're not going to make it big, you're just a mom and pop's fat loss personal training, call it whatever you want. Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. We're going to bounce over to this next one. We've got time for one more. I know we've got a bunch here, and you got one from Hawaii. We've got one from New York, got one from Canada. Let's just, I'm going to grab this one from Canada since we've been focusing on the US. Jordan Farber from Toronto, Canada. How often should my high school athletes be training? 5 or 6 days a week in the off season. I'm seeing a great success training younger kids, but should I expand the training 18 and over to training 18 and over folks as well? I don't know. This is a compound question. Is that what they call these? So how often should I train my athletes? Okay. And then 5 or 6 days a week in the off season. And then should I expand it to 18? So we've got 3 different questions here. Let's try to knock them all out in a fair swoop. And Doug, you can follow up on this. So how often should I be training my school athletes? I don't even know. I mean, what do you think, Doug?
Depends on the athlete. Second question.
So what if it's badminton versus football?
What type of training are you talking about? Wait. What do you? No, what is that? Is that? Was that? I am not going to say anything about that trying to be badminton. Are you thinking badminton? Don't you remember?
I don't think I've ever played.
Okay, so here's a simple answer to the question. It all depends on the athlete, and it all depends on whether you are doing skill training versus the strength, endurance, resistance training for actual physiological changes to the.
He's a trainer. He's a trainer.
I mean, look, if you're dealing with swimmers,
strength training and weight training, what he's asking.
Anywhere from 2 to 4, even 5 days a week, you could do strength training. You could do resistance training, not strength training. Strength training is not going to be any more than 2 or 3 days per week for the average athlete outside of strength and power athletes. So we normally differentiate between real athletes, right? Those people doing stuff like running, swimming, jumping, blah, 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 and strength and power athletes who are specifically training to lift heavier or move heavier loads. So if you differentiate between the two, if you're talking about track and field, swimming, talking about those performance athletes, remember we differentiate performance athletes. Well, it could be anywhere from 2 full body workouts in the off season to upwards of 4, even 5 as you come into season, where intensity becomes, where you decrease level of intensity, percent of 1 rep max, increase volume. But again, it depends on the sport and how many days of actual skill training are you doing, for instance. So skill training generally, depending on the sport, is going to be anywhere from 3 to 5, even 6 days per week, depending on where you're at in the season and your periodization schedule. So, that was not an answer, was it?
No, that was good. 5 or 6 days a week. That answers the same thing during the off season. Look, we're training the general population. This is for personal trainers. The athletic training scenario is a little outside of some of the things that we're going to really address, but that gives you some good feedback. Doug, I think, hit it right on the money with that. I'm seeing great success training the younger kids, but should I expand training 18 and over? No, that's just my recommendation. Look, if you're telling me you're seeing great success in training younger, that's a totally different avatar. It's a totally different customer than training people that are over 18. If you're having great success training younger kids, as you say, then train younger kids, train more of them, open up more camps, more locations, something like that. But, people that train people that are over 18 in the general population, they're training a completely different avatar than people that, it's like them trying to go into training kids. Well, don't do that because you're having success with this avatar. I would recommend expanding the avatar that you communicate with, that you're doing well with. And as you say, having great success training, stick with that. It seems like it's right up your alley. And,
and you have to define, really what are you defining by success? When you say you have great success with kids, what do you mean by success? If it's athletic performance, that's going to be a little bit different.
I hope he's talking about, results and money. Like, like great success, getting them results, and then great success in business. But you bring up a good point, Doug. Don't know. That's a great point. Come on, Jordan, be here next week, Wednesday at 2:00. Okay, so guys, I know we couldn't get to all the questions. As always, Mr. Johnny Gonzalez, thanks for being here with us today and each week and helping us navigate through this. I know there's questions that he still has that we weren't able to get to, but thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for continuing to send your questions. We enjoy taking this time out each week to spend with you and answer those questions. And don't be bashful. There's usually a link somewhere below that you can click on and go to one of our register and ask a question, or even join us live and have a conversation. We always enjoy that. Although, that's it. So we are coming to the end here. Mr. Blake, any words of wisdom that you can leave these personal trainers with?
Absolutely none. But if I was going to say something, I would say be consistent and work hard and keep tension on the muscle throughout the entire set.
Ooh, I like it. Guys, thank you again. Have a great week. Until next time, Doug and Corey and Johnny, Personal Trainer Talk, Atlanta, Georgia, Body Design University. We will see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.